On May 11th, the scientists found something unusual in one of their recordings. This time, they could hear a real voice. It was very weak and hidden beneath the static. The team spent many hours cleaning the audio. Finally, 3 words became clear. "We hear you." Everyone in the room froze. The message lasted less than 2 seconds, but everyone heard the same words. One technician quietly prayed. Another walked out of the room. Dr. Mikhailov immediately ordered the recording locked inside a secret archive. Security around the project became much stricter, and only top-level staff were allowed to continue working. The scientists wanted to make sure the replies were real, so they stopped asking predictable questions. Instead, they asked random questions that no one outside the room could possibly know. On May 16th, they asked, "How many people are in this room?" Only the 8 scientists inside knew the answer. 26 minutes later, a weak voice replied, 8. No one could explain it. The next night they asked, "What object is on the table?" Many instruments were in the room, but a brass pocket watch sat in the center of the table. A few minutes later, the reply came, "Clock." It was not the exact word, but it was close enough to shock everyone. As the days passed, the answers became clearer. It almost seemed as if something on the other side was learning. On May 28th, Dr. Viktor Mikhailov decided to ask one personal question. At exactly 12:14 a.m., he spoke into the microphone and asked, "Who are you?" For almost 30 minutes, nothing happened. The scientists began shutting down the equipment. Then suddenly, every radio receiver turned on at the same time. A loud, steady tone filled the room. The screens lit up, and the static disappeared. For the first time, the voice came through clearly. It calmly said only 4 words. "You already know." Then every light in the laboratory went out. The darkness lasted 7 seconds. When the emergency power returned, the signal was gone. Outside, the cemetery was silent. But inside the laboratory, no one believed they were running an experiment anymore. They all felt that something was studying them instead. By the morning of May 29th, 1964, the scientists no longer believed Project Necropolis Signal was just an experiment. The strange voice from the previous night had changed everything. No one could explain why every radio receiver turned on at the same time, why the power failed for 7 seconds, or how the voice came through so clearly. Officially, the incident was called an equipment failure, but everyone inside the laboratory knew something unusual had happened. 2 days later, 3 KGB officers arrived at the facility. They collected every recording tape, notebook, and research file. No copies were allowed to remain in the laboratory. The scientists were told only one thing: the experiment would continue. From that day, the KGB took complete control. Security cameras were installed everywhere. Phone lines were disconnected, mail was checked, and the researchers were forbidden from discussing the project outside official meetings. The laboratory no longer felt like a research center. It felt like a prison. Over the next few weeks, the team began to change. At first, they were simply tired and unable to concentrate. Then stranger things started happening. Some researchers heard whispers in empty hallways. Others heard their names coming from radios that were switched off. Engineer Pavel Antonov refused to enter the recording room after claiming someone had been standing behind him. Security footage showed he had been completely alone. The KGB then ordered one final stage of the experiment. Instead of asking single questions, the scientists would try to hold a conversation. Every night, the transmitter stayed on for 1 hour while every reply was recorded. At first, the answers were short and unclear, but slowly they became longer. The scientists asked, "Where are you?" After a few seconds, the reply came, "Not where." They asked, "What are you?" The answer was, "Remembered." The next night they asked, "How many of you are there?" The reply came almost immediately, "More." No one understood what the answers meant, but they sounded intelligent. By the end of June, something even stranger happened. The laboratory stopped sending broadcasts every night, but the voices still appeared. Radios turned on by themselves. Tape recorders started recording without anyone touching them. One engineer even reported that the radio equipment was receiving signals without electricity, something that should have been impossible. The scientists noticed another change. The signal no longer seemed to come from the nearby cemetery. It now appeared to come from deep beneath the laboratory. The ground below the building was carefully examined, but nothing unusual was found. There were no tunnels, hidden rooms, or underground structures. On the night of July 18, 1964, the KGB approved one final experiment. Every member of the project was ordered into the control room. The heavy steel doors were locked, and every machine was set to record. At exactly midnight, Dr. Viktor Mikhailov spoke into the microphone. "If anyone is receiving this transmission, what do you want?" For almost a minute, there was only static. Some researchers believed the strange events were finally over. Then every machine in the laboratory reacted at once. The screens jumped wildly. The temperature suddenly dropped. Compasses spun in circles. Audio meters reached their highest level. Then the voices came. Not one voice, dozens of voices. Men, women, children, young and old, all speaking at the same time. The engineers tried to adjust the equipment, but nothing worked. The voices became louder and louder until they suddenly stopped. Complete silence filled the room. Every machine became silent. Even the normal sound of the laboratory disappeared. Then one final voice spoke clearly. "We found you." The recording ended immediately. Every machine in the laboratory stopped working forever. Before sunrise, Project Necropolis Signal was shut down. Armed guards evacuated the facility, and each scientist was questioned separately. Some were transferred to other jobs. Others retired without explanation. A few simply disappeared from official records. Within weeks, the radio tower was removed, and the underground laboratory was sealed with concrete. Official documents describe the site as an abandoned communications station. There was no mention of strange voices, mysterious recordings, or Project Necropolis Signal. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, many secret government files became public. Historians discovered military records, intelligence reports, and space research documents. But no official file about Project Necropolis Signal was ever found. Its records had disappeared. But some former radio operators claimed they had heard strange broadcasts in Siberia late at night. Others said they owned old Soviet tapes filled with mysterious whispers. Most people believed they were fake, but a few recordings still remain unexplained.